This morning we're going to talk to a gentleman who we had the pleasure to speak with, he and his wife, many months ago, but we enjoyed it so much we wanted to have him back and find out if Stewart Swerdlow is in trouble or he's having a good time. I'm sure he's just having a good time. He has been since an early age, where actually when he was a young boy, he had encounters with alien beings. You and I did that, but it was just at Catholic school. Not just kidding. And while he was in high school, he was picked up at night by, he initially thought were alien beings, and then he figured out later they were military officials under the guise of ETs. Now that's just wild in itself. But he's authored 5 books over the years: The Montauk Project, The Alien Connection, The Healer's Handbook, As You Sow, You Shall Reap. I like that one. Healing of the Mind, and The White Owl Legend. And up in St. Joseph, Michigan. And Stewart, I mentioned this before we went on the air, but I think you're the only person, you and your family, you're the only people in St. Joseph, Michigan?
Yeah, there's no one else around. They moved away after we came here.
It happens to the best of us, Stewart.
Yeah, but, they left a lot of stuff, so it's convenient.
Uh-huh. There goes the neighborhood, Stewart. Stewart's in town. There goes the neighborhood. Do you talk to your neighbors and friends about all this really wild stuff that you've been involved in?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
This is a very conservative area. They already drive slowly past my house and look strangely and take pictures, so I'm not going to add to that intensity,
Mm-hmm. Did you ever go through periods in your life, Stewart Swerdlow, where you just thought you were just crazy?
I think that almost every day. However, unfortunately, things happen to prove that I was correct by what I'm saying, anyway.
And what is your overall message when you go talk to people, like you're going down to Central America? I mean, what would be your message if they put it on a big cardboard board outside the room there at the hotel?
Stay away.
Stay away.
Probably the best one. Probably in Spanish, though. There.
Vámonos.
But really, the message is everybody needs to wake up and learn what's going on, because it's very serious out there. And most people have no clue. They just believe whatever they hear on the news. And that, unfortunately, is not going to help them in the near future.
Mm-hmm. When you say wake up, the idea of being able to, Stewart, see a news story or read something and just know that this could be right or this could be absolutely wrong, that kind of a wake up?
Well, I think the cover stories that people have been hearing about, reading about, are not going to hold up very much longer, because I believe that actually before the end of this year and during next year and beyond, there will be events happening, both staged and not staged, that will convince people that they haven't been told the truth and that the stories on the news are really inaccurate. And then they'll be curious to know what's going on, and they'll be looking for alternative information.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that's a spiritual experience going on, where these souls are going to need something kind of dramatic to wake up? Is that what's going on?
Well, I mean, everything is spiritual ultimately.
Sure.
We are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and we do create our reality whether we realize it or not. So, yeah, both individually and collectively as a species on this planet, we have created all of this scenario so that we could learn from it and move forward.
Mm-hmm. I like that. What do we learn from it? Not to know who to play with and who not to play with?
Well, really, it's all coming from within ourselves. The people who are the oppressors and tyrants are just reflections of something within each of us. What we're here to learn is who and what we really are, what our abilities are, our connection to God, mind, and to our oversoul, and to correct all of the mind patterns that have been bringing unpleasant experiences over the lifetimes.
Mm-hmm. So that idea that we don't see anything, Stewart Swerdlow, in our exterior world unless we have a reflection of ourselves, as you just said, something that there's a part of us in there somewhere. Is that what you see going on with everything, whether you talk about geopolitics or financial or anything. We have this disconnect or these abrasions, if you will, or imbalances within each of us.
Well, we have a collection of mind patterns or thought bands, and I always use the analogy that the thoughts are like film, the brain is the projector, and physical reality is the screen. So the movie that we see playing around us is being projected from within ourselves, both as individuals and as a species. And so we're the only ones who can change the movie that's playing around us by changing the way we think, which is like the film. And I do describe that in my DVDs and my books. And I do have other books. I mean, you mentioned my 5 earlier books, but I have many more books after that that people can read. They can go to expansions.com and look those up.
How many books do you have total?
Oh, gosh. Including my children's books, I must have close to 17 now.
17 books. My goodness. Mm-hmm. And that's expansions.com.
Yeah.
Expansions.com. And you've written children's books.
Yes, they're in the process of being published right now. There's about 6 or 8 of them.
I'll be done.
Yeah.
And what kind of things do you talk to the kids about?
You know, over the years, people have told me their children go to regular school and they teach them certain bits of information that they know are not exactly correct, and how do they teach their children about what's really going on in the world or what life is really about. So I thought about that a while, and then I created these children's books that talk about hyperspace and white-winged lion and oversoul and things like this, so that with adventures that the children participate in, so that they can understand that there's more to life than just what they see with their eyes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Has your children remembered any of their past lives?
Yes, some of them have. Some of my older children, although had a lot of abilities and memories when they were younger, as they got older and went into the regular world, they kind of stopped talking about it. So I don't know what's really going on with them at that point with it. But my younger children definitely do remember past lives, or what I call simultaneous existences, because really there is no past, present, and future. It's just the eternal now. It's just a question of where we're focused at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So you think that's really the way it is, Stewart, that it is just one big now, and this idea of the past and the future is an illusion, really?
Well, time and space are illusions of physical reality. If you stand back far enough from physical reality, you see it's not a line, it's a circle. And our consciousness is the center of that circle. And so any point on the circle going around us is valid. There's no beginning, there's no end, it's just all there at the same time. And physically, as above, so below, even physically in our own universe, this is true, because scientists say that the universe is really curved and it is not straight. So theoretically, if you blasted a spaceship off from any point on the Earth and you just had it going on forever and ever, at some point in the very far distance, time-wise, it would come back to the same point because it's just going around in a circle.
Oh, just like our lives.
Well, hopefully.
Sometimes we feel like we're going around in a circle. Yeah.
Well, some more than others.
We're with Stewart Swerdlow. We're going to have fun this morning. As you can tell, we're no telling where we'll go. And we've already have some emails in from Mr. Swerdlow, and most of them so interesting. I looked at the emails that we had in for you already because, we told folks you were going to be on. And they're all about mind control. So that's curious how that's such an interesting subject to people.
Well, that's the topic these days, even on other radio shows and TV shows.
Is it? That's the one, huh? And if you'd like to be on the show this morning, we have a couple of lines. As I told you, 888-663-6386. We'll put you on hold, and then we'll pick it up live on the air. And it's all you have to do. Just be nice when we say hi, and don't say poop. And then email Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. Do you think, Stewart Swerdlow, that, say we're taking a walk and we have a strange thought that just kind of passes through, something really wonky. I think I'll just make something up. I think I'm going to go and steal a car tonight. And we as soul, Patrick as soul, I know that that's not me. I saw that thought just pass through, and I didn't even give it a second thought because I knew it wasn't me, and that was the end of it. Do you think there's anything, any karmic result from that thought, even though I didn't buy into it?
Well, first, let me say that, Patrick, I'm sure you have many strange thoughts all the time.
From time to time, yes.
Yeah, from what I understand from other people. But okay, as we move forward, and let's say, okay, we have a thought like that or some other
something
thing.
Weird, just something just like, I'm going to go steal a car, and that's something totally unlike us.
Yeah, something out of character. Well, there's many things going on here. Number one, my first reaction to that could be that you have switched into a programming alter who does perform functions like that. And so in that case, I would understand why you had that thought. Or it could be that from some mind pattern you developed in childhood or from another existence that you had where these things were actually a standard procedure for you or your soul personality, that something you saw, heard, or felt triggered that, and so it came up for you to perform that function. I would have to look at the motivation or the triggering for that idea.
But it's not something that one would have to go back and erase or say, oh, I'm not going to steal a car. It's something you just go let it pass from end to end, and it's over.
Well, I would still say to anyone who has a thought that's out of character to look at why you had that thought. Put the idea at the pineal gland as an icon and let the pineal gland act as a key to then go into the mind patterns and show you literally where this thought originated and why. And then it's up to the person to do work to release that, to change the mind pattern so that these thoughts don't come up again. Because it's very possible, as ELF and microwave pulses are intensified and people do switch into alter groups within their matrix, that they could physically perform those functions. It would not be just a fleeting thought, but it would be something they feel compelled to do, even though somewhere within them they know it's not correct.
So do you think that we pick up strange thoughts like that just out of ether, too, that have nothing to do with us, past lives or anything, that we can just pick stuff up kind of like a radio?
Well, you can pick things up like this. However, in order for it to stay, there has to be a foundational mind pattern on which it attaches. I always talk about in my books, especially in 13 Cubed and True Reality of Sexuality book, that programming cannot take hold unless there's a foundational mind pattern already there for it to hook onto. So in other words, if you have a program that says you're supposed to be an assassin and kill people, if you don't already have that possibility within you, it cannot take hold.
But as most souls in their pure state, aren't we all sweet love and hippie beads? And the soul doesn't really get programmed. Isn't it just the mind and the brain?
Well, the mind is part of the soul personality.
Now, wait a minute. Wait. The mind is part of of soul? I'm not my mind.
Oh, yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
You are mind, and God mind. That's why I call it God mind. That's all there is mind.
We're probably
part of that.
It's probably a semantic thing. Let's see. Well,
it's just mind. All that exists is mind, which is electromagnetic energy. That's all that exists in all eternity, all creation. And within that, we are specks or parts of that mind, and we have accumulated certain bandwidths of thoughts and ideas which we have accepted as being us as a personality. And then we react and act on those thoughts and ideas in order to see what we can learn from them. And that is how God mind knows who and what it is. Because remember, God mind is all that exists. Imagine being the only thing that exists, nothing else. What would you do? You would have to go within in order to understand self and create the scenarios in order to understand and learn. And that's what we are all part of.
So you call God mind of just what this thing we call God. You just add the word mind to it.
Yeah, because
Okay.
God, gives the connotation of an old man with a beard sitting on a throne and throwing thunderbolts at people.
Well, that's what it was with me when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yes, but that's really not what it is. That's
I'm
religion.
I'm
That's religion
shocked.
telling you.
I'm really
Religion telling you something to be afraid of, so you listen to the priest and the pope and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But the actuality is God mind isn't a person. It is all that exists. It is entirety. It's the totality of everything. Everything. And so in order to know itself, it allows all things to happen.
That's why people say, why did God let this happen?
Yeah, God didn't let it happen. You did. And it's, God just gave you the energy. You have free will to do with the energy as you wish.
Free will. So free will.
It's kind of like, think of the ocean. And think of, you're standing at the ocean and a wave comes and splashes you. And you say, well, why did the ocean splash me like that? Well, the ocean itself really didn't splash you. It's your mind pattern attracted that to you for whatever reason. And you use the energy of the ocean to do that.
Here's an email from Jack. He says, please explain what the subconscious mind is and why it is so easily programmable through hypnosis.
That's why I don't like hypnosis.
Yeah, I don't know if I let anybody go noodling around in my head.
Yeah, well, God, they would get lost in there.
I know. So. And they'd say, I just love a scavenger hunt,
First, I'd have to clean all the cobwebs off, Patrick.
I know,
yeah.
Stuart.
But
subconscious mind, that's always been a kind of interesting
all right,
thing.
And now let me analyze all of that for you and put it in perspective. Our brain is in different segments. We have a left brain, a right brain. We have a pineal gland in the middle. The left brain is the center of the conscious mind. The right brain is the center of the superconscious mind. And the pineal gland is where the subconscious mind energy comes in. Now, really, all three are the same. It's simply a question of perspective and how the levels of awareness relate to what is going on around us. But I'll go further and say the conscious mind deals with physical reality. The right brain deals with the hyperspace or non-physical reality. And the pineal subconscious mind deals with the liaison between the two. So, in effect, the subconscious mind is highly connected to the astral levels, which is, again, the mid-range between hyperspace and physical reality. And so in the astral, many things are possible because it's kind of like the transition point between many different energies and awarenesses. And so the government, alien beings, astral entities, demonic entities, whatever you want to call it, use the astral or subconscious region in order to access the minds of people, places, and things.
Maybe it could be argued, I think, that if there is a place called hell that people have created, it's probably on the astral plane.
I would say
probably
so,
probably in the worst neighborhood of the astral plane.
Yes, but you know what? I think there's a hell on earth.
Yeah, well, certainly a lot of folks experience that, don't they, Stewart? Yeah.
Yes, and it is what you make it to be. People always ask me, what happens when you die? I say, what do you want to happen when you die? What do you expect? That's what you will see.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you will go into a transition period where then you start to know really who and what you are energetically. But ultimately, or I should say initially, what you expect is what you get.
22 minutes after the hour with Stewart Swerdlow. His website is expansions.com. Has written about 17 books. And as you can tell, we're liable to go anywhere this morning, and just our heads may explode. So if you want some duct tape, you can just wrap that around your head and hold it all together. It'll be okay.
I like crazy glue for my
crazy glue is good.
Yeah,
it's good. 888-663-6386. Email Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. So this subconscious mind, you say is it physically in the pineal gland?
No, it's
just kind of associated with the pineal gland.
Yeah, that's the liaison or the nexus point for the physical and non-physical to meet.
The nexus for the physical and the non-physical. So what kind of stuff is stored in the subconscious mind?
Well, in the subconscious mind is a lot of the memory, a lot of the electromagnetic experiences that you've accumulated over your existences. Really, in the subconscious mind, that's a lot where the dream state takes place. When you go to sleep at night, very often you go into you do go into the subconscious and the astral, and that's why the dreams can feel so real, because in the astral, whatever you think of is manifested instantly. And that's why I warn people, they think they're going to commit suicide and end it all and go away. Well, that's going to be the worst, because if you have a mind pattern that's making your life on Earth miserable and then you commit suicide, well, guess what? When you get to the astral, every fear, every issue you imagine will be right there in front of you to deal with, like it or not.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think the dream experience is about?
Well, when we dream, we actually leave our bodies. Our soul personalities leave our bodies, and hopefully we go to the hyperspace level and not the subconscious or astral level. And there we experience pure energy, pure thought, the triad of the God mind, archetype, color, and symbol, and tone, I should say. And so when we come back into our bodies, our left brain or conscious mind does not have a point of reference for what we've just experienced. And so the subconscious mind, through the pineal gland, takes pictograms and layers them over the archetype symbol and strings them together in an imagery so that we remember it as a dream. And that's why it's very important to write down your dreams as much as you can remember and then analyze them to see what the symbols are telling you, because most dreams will be a status report of your life and give you direction to know what you should be looking at, fixing, changing, etc.
And then, is it fair to say that everyone's symbols and ideas, these little pictogram things, are all different? And so we have to, it's our job to figure our own out.
Well, there are most common symbols. The species as a total has symbols common to it. Otherwise, we couldn't all exist in the same planet. We would all have different symbols. The world wouldn't be cohesive. And so we
some
all have
symbols are more generic.
So, some have, yes, there are nuances, and that's why when I look at dream symbols, I look at the color, I look at the peripheral. Those are maybe unique to that particular individual that would then give a different tone or direction of the meaning of the dream. But generally, for example, when someone dreams about water, well, that's usually about emotions. And so then I look at, okay, what specifically about that emotion is important to that particular person, and that's when the rest of the dream imagery is important.
26 minutes after the hour with Stewart Swerdlow here on a Thursday morning, the 15th of September. Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com, and also NaturalNewsRadio.com. Here's a question for Stewart. Let's see. Is it necessary to be totally deconditioned? What will one be like if one is totally deconditioned? Otherwise, what are the type of conditionings that one needs in order to survive on this planet and make good life for oneself? Thank you. I've listened to your interview with Regina Meredith. Would like to listen to more from you.
Deconditioned? Are they talking about deprogramming?
I'm not sure.
That's a new word on me, I'll tell you what.
Deconditioned.
I'm thinking maybe they're talking about deprogramming.
So let's open that up and get into this whole programming idea. So are many of us on planet Earth programmed to do this or that or think this or that?
At this point, 100% of the population have some kind of programming or another.
And what would that be? Give us an idea of...
Well, generally what I call the standard or general population programming would be to listen to the news, listen to what the government tells you, believe what you're told, take your injections, take your medicines, listen to what you learn in school and take that as truth. These are the general programs that are being implemented on people, not to resist, not to argue about anything. But there are, I'll say at this point, 5 to 10% of the global population that have specific programming, like I talk about monarch programming, Green Star, New World Religion, Vigilante, all these kind that I talk about in my books and DVDs, where they are to perform specific functions when they are triggered and then activated into use.
Ooh.
And that's going on right now as we are in end times programming activations globally.
So you're saying there are groups of souls that have been programmed, and those are named is it one Montauk?
Well, they're individuals.
Okay, but they're groups of people that are being programmed to do certain things. To play out someone's agenda who's doing the programming? Is that too simple?
Well, the programming is from the Illuminati / government. Mm-hmm. And that's been going on since the late 40s in North America anyway.
And how many people would be in these groups?
Well, that depends. There are 7 billion people on the planet. And if you take 10% of that, that's 700 million people on the planet with specific programming. That's a lot of people.
And how do those people get programmed?
Years ago, it was done through programming sessions where they actually would be taken, traumatized, etc. I wrote about that in some of my books. But these days, I'd say in the last 10, 15 years, it's all done through satellite transmission, television broadcast, computer transmissions, any electromagnetic device that can transmit and pick up the carrier waves is used to transmit programming, and it just embeds into the person's mind pattern, and it is enhanced by the things they give us to eat, drink, and inject. And
wow.
we in fact become walking antennae, because all the injections, all the food, everything that's in the environment puts heavy metals in our bodies, which accumulate in our bones, in our cells, and we are antennas. Walking antenna.
So you're saying that, for example, we did a show on 9/11 on all the financial implications of that, and on Saturday it was pretty amazing. And so then somebody, if they're sitting there and they just can't open up to the possibility that the official story is not the official story, are you suggesting, Stewart, that these folks, they've been programmed to think this way?
Yes, that is a pervasive projection from satellite transmission to behave, acquiesce to what you're told, etc. However, there are people, and out there who just have fear issues, and even though a part of them knows something isn't right, it's so much easier for them to just accept what they're told and move on instead of questioning it.
Yeah. Is that fear then that's also programmed in?
Of course. Fear, fear of course is natural, but it's fear that opens up the mind for programming. So that is why on our planet there's a constant state of fear being imposed by the news media. Terrorist acts are going to happen, the global warming is occurring, all these terrible things that they tell you creates fear, at least on a subconscious level. And that constantly keeps your energy field open for input to your mind.
Oh, I see. So the fear state is somehow opens up, and then if you watch a newscast and there's subliminal stuff, or if they're telling you some story that they just made up, then it's easier for it to just get sucked in and programmed, and people believe it.
Absolutely. And, just yesterday I posted on my site a video about 9/11. It's only 5 minutes long. People should watch that. And in 5 minutes or less, actually, it tells you the whole story. And if you, after you watch that video, you're going to know something isn't right with what they told you.
Is that by anyone possibly? Who did that one?
I can't remember the name, but whoever...
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Corbett.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Yeah, I saw that one. That's really a trip, and that's on your website?
Yeah, I put that on because it was so amazing. I said, everyone has to see that.
Hi, guys. I believe Stewart lives in Michigan. Not sure what part. Well, he lives in Joseph.
The western part.
It's the western part, St. Joseph, Michigan. I'm considering relocating to Michigan due to possible earth changes. What are his thoughts on this part of the world? I assume he likes, if he lives there, and does he garden and things like that?
Well, I like to keep Michigan a hidden secret, because it is very beautiful. It's not, people have no idea what is on, especially this part of Michigan, which is called the Riviera of the Midwest. We have more beaches than California, more coastline than any other state except Alaska, and we have the highest boat ownership in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of water up there, boy.
A lot of water, and we do have also the number one non-citrus agricultural growing area in the country. And we have tons of vineyards, second only to California. In fact, when something goes wrong with the grapes in California, they ship them from here to replace them. But you have to like snow. That's the difference, In fact, we're having frost tonight, and some places tonight are getting some snowflakes. So we have early winters, and they last a long time, but the summers are really, really super. And yes, I do garden, and we have great soil here. It's kind of a step-up transformer with all of the billions of tons of crushed quartz crystal under the ground here. And the water is very clean and pure. It's a very, very good place to live.
And I guess the cold weather keeps a lot of the riffraff out.
I think so. Definitely.
Right. But you get used to it? Do you get used to the cold?
Well, I like it. You see, that matches my frequency, and, depends on your genetics. Not everybody can live in a place like this. You have to have the right kind of genetics, the right kind of mind pattern. I fit here very well because of my Russian Viking background. So, to me, this is perfect.
Yeah. Here's an email from Denny. He says, soul is the spiritual center of our being. The mental body or mind is a subtle body that soul uses to gain experience. But mind is not soul any more than the physical body or the emotional body is soul. It is all just semantics, but knowing we are soul, not that we have a soul, puts everything else into perspective. We are soul, and soul just is.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
We are just...
Sounds kind of good to me, too.
Yeah, and all is one.
All is one and one is all. So we are part of it, but not it, or something.
Just like a drop of water is part of the ocean, but it's not the ocean.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny. That was well said. Here's an email from no name. Did you watch Obama 9/11/11 reading Psalm 46? His expressions, the book on his face when he ended the mistake he made, and anything else you noticed. If you did, what's your take on that? Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I don't watch TV, so
yeah,
I see that. But I did hear about it. People, of course, wrote into me about it.
What is it? What is he talking about there?
Well, from what I understand, when Obama read that biblical passage, apparently it pained him, or it seemed disturbing to him to read it. The
Psalm 46?
Yeah, the connotation that I got from it was that the people who noticed this believe him to be really a Muslim, and that he was reading a Christian work that made him feel uncomfortable. That was what I kind of got out of it, but also that it was very spiritual, and since he is considered to be a non-spiritual person, that it was, against his energy, so to speak. That's what others have told me. I didn't see it myself.
Starting, I guess, with Bill Clinton, I personally got the feeling like that these presidents are kind of hollow, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to use the term soulless because I think they have to be soul, but I don't know. Do you think that these guys, or these presidents, are programmed, or?
Oh, I know that they're programmed.
They're programmed. I mean, how would they do that? Well, of course, you've had this experience with the military early on. I guess these people with unlimited resources, the military-industrial complex and CIA, they could do whatever they want, right? Because they probably got all the money in the world to do this stuff.
You know, you really need to look at the Illuminati culture. And the Illuminati culture uses programming and mind control as a standard so that their civilization continues without deviation or change. And so to them it's quite normal to do this, even amongst themselves and their own children and families, etc. Of course, the programming types that they use for themselves are a bit different than they give to the general population. And so presidents, or even governors, nobody reaches a high level of political platform in this country or in any other country without being part of the program, so to speak.
Part of the program, literally and figuratively?
Yes, it's part of the agenda of the Illuminati families for global domination and control. And it doesn't matter what country you're in. You know, I often have to smile because people say, oh, I'm going to run away to New Zealand or I'm going to run away to Bolivia or wherever. Well, you know, you're just changing the venue. You're not changing anything else. It's a global new world order. It's not in any one country. It's global. You could hide under the ice in Antarctica and they'll still find your energy. You know, it doesn't matter where you are. That's why I tell people, go and live where you fit. Doesn't matter where you know, it doesn't matter anything else. Go where you fit, where the energy suits you.
Yeah.
So that you become stronger no matter what's going on around you.
Yeah. And
you can do your deprogramming work and release work and become a whole person.
Yeah. And Stewart, to that same line of thinking, our money man, Andrew Goss, who we have on twice a week, he's told us over and over again over the years literally the same thing when it comes to money and the World Bank, and that these people they're just in it all together. There's just one big club. They may fight amongst themselves a bit, but you know.
Well, you know, they have a very high level of reptilian genetics, and anyone who's observed reptilians know if you put them together, they fight each other. They don't help each other out of their situation. They fight to the death to see who's the winner, you know. And so that's what we're seeing. Even though they're Illuminati families and they have the same agenda, they do fight amongst themselves. And I think we're seeing that happen now. And that is our motivation, I think, to slip between the cracks of their agenda now and widen the cracks so that the whole thing falls apart.
This whole reptilian brain kind of David Icke thing, I know that we've had David on before, but in its simplest form, give me your opinion about what this whole reptilian thing is.
Yeah, and I wrote about it in my Blue Blood book.
Blue Blood, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, David uses my information about it because we've discussed this many times. And basically it goes back to the hybridization program of humanity where reptilian and mammalian genetics were put together. That is the allegorical story of Eve being separated from Adam in the rib. That really was about a reptilian androgynous body being separated into male and female components and mammalian genetics added to it. And that is why when you watch a fetus gestating in the womb, for the first few weeks of its existence, it's a reptilian androgynous creature, and only after a few weeks does it differentiate into a sexual gender and then a mammalian characteristics form, because the DNA is going along the sequence in which it was added. So that's, to me, anyone who wants proof of what I'm saying, look how a fetus gestates in the womb. Then, you know, it's a question of percentages, how much reptilian DNA, how much mammalian DNA will a particular person have. It's a question of the mind pattern that creates, or the soul personality that creates that body. And so, depending on the mix will depend on the type of person that develops. The ones that have an exact 50-50 split of genetics are the ones who can shapeshift, because then it's a question of what kind of mind pattern is operating the DNA, which will determine what the DNA manifests physically.
Shapeshift or one, you say that some people they actually change the way they look.
Yes, they can shift from one form to another if they have the half mix of the genetics. If there's a 60-40 mix, not going to happen.
And who did this? Who are you saying did this, Stewart? This reptilian insertion DNA thing, and when did that happen?
That happened in very ancient times. That happened when there were wars between the mammalian Atlanteans and the reptilian Lemurians. And in order to create peace, they created a third race that was a synthesis between the two. And that's why it says in the Bible, let us make man in our image. It's completely plural. There's no singular God talking here. It's a group of people.
So the Lemurians were reptilians, you say?
Androgynous reptilians, yes.
How do you know that?
Well, I know that from history. And when I worked at Montauk Point, when I was in there, the project there, this is the history that we were given, and we were shown proof of that. And as I just explained, you can see the proof in humanity itself just by observing a pregnancy.
So the Montauk Project, what is that?
Okay. Montauk Project began in 1970. It was an outgrowth of the Cold War and other historical events where the Illuminati, which is a percentage-wise small group of people on the Earth, needed a way to control the billions of people on this planet. They knew that law and weapons, etc., were not enough because they could literally be overwhelmed by the population. So the most logical thing they could do was to create a mind control project that could then be imposed on the population so that the population doesn't even know it's mind control. And the statement was, the best slave is one who doesn't know he's a slave.
Yeah, that's real slavery, right?
Yes, and they, you know what, they achieved that. And the Montauk Project was about mind control, genetic manipulation, time travel, interdimensional work. It was quite a comprehensive group of experimentations that occurred there from 1970 to 1983. And, of course, since then, it's been taken in other locations around the world and in this country and extrapolated into other things. But the U.S. was not the only one. There were mind control experiments done in Germany and the Soviet Union, China. Many countries, Britain, did these mind control experiments.
So there are people, you say there are people that have this blend of DNA that could actually change the way they look.
Yeah, now here's something to think about, because there's two things going on when people say, oh, I saw a shapeshifter, I saw this or this.
Mm-hmm.
There are those people, like I mentioned, who have that 50-50 split that could change the form from one to another. But there are also others, particularly the purebred reptilians, who have devices that can produce a holographic image around themselves to make it look different. That's not shape-shifting. That is simply a holographic illusion.
And what do they do with this holographic illusion, like politicians?
Well, what they do with politicians these days is they do have what we call replicas or clones or even lookalikes. It's been proven with Saddam Hussein and others that appear in various locations masquerading as that individual, when in fact they are not that individual. In fact, there was a movie made about the son of Saddam Hussein who had a double that walked around doing acts for him. And so they're kind of letting that information out into the public. But I know that when you get to the levels of presidents and high-level officials globally, they do have lookalikes or clones or those who masquerade for them to be in different places at different times.
So then, do you think then that presidents, they have they're programmed into the game and perhaps have some information on them, like in the mafia, where you're a made man, that kind of thing. And then they also program them literally, actually program them through some electronic or some programming means like they do other people?
Of course they do. In fact...
How would they do that with the president, for example?
It's done, again, through satellite transmission. It's done through, for a president, it would be done in programming sessions. But these people are programmed way before they ever become president.
Yeah. So they're all kind of groomed.
Yes, it's kind of like this. They have what they call a crop of people. And they take this crop of people with the potential for the goal of whatever position they're going to put them in. And then they choose the ones that fit best, and that's the ones that they enhance the most for the position. And if you look at presidents and pick any one of them and take a picture of them or look at a picture of them before they became president, and then look at pictures of them through their presidency, you will see the changes in that person. And it's not from stress or aging generally. There's other things going on here. Look at their eyes. The eyes are a different shape. Look at the way the mouth moves. Look at the energy around them, the hands. You will see changes that are more than just aging and stress. You will see programming changes in them.
So this technology, they're able to program a particular person, say like the president, through a satellite or through some kind of electronic means and beam it right to their head?
Yeah, everyone has a frequency, a unique set of vibrations that is unique to them. And when you can tap into that set of unique vibrations, you can add or subtract to it whatever you want. You know, it's like having a computer. Every computer has a different address, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you can send into that particular computer whatever instructions or software you want to send into it. Same with a person.
Well, that's pretty wild.
It's science. It's actually science. And they have quite a detailed formula for everything they need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's then subliminal stuff coming through television programs? There must be.
Oh, there's no question about it.
Must be. Right?
You know, why do you think they made everybody go digital last year? You could not have a regular TV anymore if you wanted to get to certain shows. Everyone had to get the digital one. And if you look in your new TV, your new flat-screen TV, etc., you'll see devices in there that even the TV guy cannot explain to you what it is. They won't know. But they're in every new television set. They're also in computers, and they're also in cell phones. And these are devices that act as two-way monitors. Even when your TV is off, it could still monitor you.
Monitor you how?
It picks up your vibration. It picks up your energy. It knows where you are. Same thing with your computer. Same thing with your cell phone. Even your microwave oven, even when you turn it off, it's on.
Yeah, we know that with the health effects of that thing. So, and
let me just add one more thing for this, is that your power company in your local areas,
right.
your electrical generators in these power companies always make more than they need, and they take the excess and they just dump it in the ground, so that in effect it electrifies the ground in your area, and that enables the earth itself to be a carrier for the mind control waves even into your own home through your electrical system.
Yeah, we've done a lot of shows on the whole electrical thing, Stewart, in the homes, and this white noise kind of stuff in the wires that's there. If you could put a sine wave on your electricity coming into the home, and you can see it's not a perfect sine wave, and it's actually noise And science has shown that it affects the health, blood sugar, effects, and
everything.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, I have in my home where the electricity comes in, I have a device that blocks this. That is it's kind of like a surge protector, but it blocks the excess electricity from coming in and doing all those things in the house.
Yeah, what's that called?
Well, it's just basically a surge protector, but ideal with a person. In fact, if you go to events@expansions.com and email this Patricia, she is in charge of that equipment, and she can tell you more about it.
Yeah, we'd like to get somebody on about that. We also have had a fellow by the name of Dave Stetzer on, Stetzer Electric, and he's invented these little capacitors, $25 that you can plug in to your outlets around the home, and you can actually take that white noise down. I don't know if it affects how it would affect any kind of weird stuff coming in on the electricity grid. But how do the powers that be or the money powers get information, for example, into the grid? I mean, how would the power companies would have to be in on that, wouldn't they?
Well, most of the people don't know. They're just workers.
Yeah.
They just do what they have to do. But the satellite transmissions that are targeting the Earth, they just send the transmission right down to the Earth, and it's amplified with ground antennas and with the power companies, etc. It's just kind of a network of transmission.
Oh, so you just throw this stuff wherever you want.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You can just throw these beams wherever you want.
Well, they can direct it either to a specific person or area or generally to the planet. It depends what their motive is for that particular function.
Is it any wonder that we go through here, like on our show, and we have these little sound and light machines we're playing with that keep our brain happy, and all the detoxification of the heavy metals and everything that we have to go through just to stay sane? I mean, is it any wonder?
Well, quite honestly, that's why you're seeing these irrational behaviors all over the place now. People killing their wives, their children, rapes, murders, explosions. I mean, you name it, it's going on every single day. And that's just not normal. I don't think that people would do that under normal circumstances. And we're even seeing animals behaving in very strange ways all over the world.
Stewart's website is expansions.com. He has about 17 books or so. He's got all kinds of DVDs and CDs and wild stuff that you can get there. Pretty cool stuff to learn about all the landmines around us. And that's what we talk about here, Stewart, and I think you might agree, is there's a lot of really weird kind of things, strange things and challenges that we have created on planet Earth, but I don't think we have to get all maudlin and depressed and all of that, right? Because if we know what's going on, then we can figure out how to dance around it.
Well, yes, although not dance around
or whatever the word is.
We need to change it. We need to make changes to what's going on. Or, if you don't like the dance, you got to change the orchestra. So that's also part of the mission here. But yes, that's why I do my news updates every day. That's why I do my newsletter every month, to let people know what's going on out there, how I interpret it, what it means to them, what they can do about it. And knowledge is power. And, of course, I hope that they will tell other people about it, and then ultimately will reach a critical mass so that it'll spill over to everybody else. And then we can change things around here.
Here's an email. Stewart, who is at the very, very top of the Illuminati? Is there one entity at the top of this triangle?
Yeah, of course. And David Icke has written about it. I've written about it. And that is called the Pindar, P-I-N-D-A-R, who is the head of all of the Illuminati families. And right now, or I should say for the last almost 800 years, the Rothschild family has been in charge of the Illuminati and the head of the Rothschilds, of course. And now there's a rivalry going on between the Windsors and the Rothschilds, and now the Romanovs are come back and they want to take over. So there's a lot of political intrigue within the Illuminati as well.
I would guess. I mean, yeah, sure. That's interesting. That word Pindar. A word for Earth is Pinda.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, what Pindar means is the penis of the dragon.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Glad you said that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I should or not.
No, that's okay. But no. Here's an email from Ashley in Madison, Wisconsin. This question is sparked from the dream comment Stewart made about water being about emotions and dreams. I dream about dying, being killed, chased, and having parts of my body severed from me. It is usually dark in my dreams too, but I'm not a violent person, and I stay clear from violence in general. What could this mean?
Well, when we are chased in our dreams, it means that there is a fear that we're not confronting, that we're avoiding. And so that would tell me she has an issue in her life that she's avoiding, which is literally tearing her apart. It's taking, it's making her parts of her personality really disappear, and that's what the deaths are about. It's not a physical death. It's the death of an aspect of her personality because she's not confronting some fears. Mm-hmm. So I would say to that person to do a visualization where you go back into the imagery of the dream and you actually stand and face whatever it is that's chasing you or confronting you, and look at what or who that is. Place that image at your pineal gland as a key, and then the information related to that fear issue or situation will come up to the forefront, and then you need to do your release work on that.
10 minutes after the hour, Patrick Timpone, Stewart Swerdlow, OneRadioNetwork.com. If you'd like to be on the show this morning, we're having fun. I love talking about this stuff. 888-663-6386. Email Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. I do love talking about Stewart because even if some of it people could, I guess they can categorize it as spooky or scary or weird. I don't know. I think the truth will set us free, and frankly, I'm not scared of anything, and I just want to see everything for what it is, and and then I can just kind of see where I fit into it or not, and see what I want to have a relationship with or not.
Well, that's very good, but of course you never met my ex-wife, so you haven't. That would make you very afraid. But
I won't tell her you said that.
Hopefully she's not listening.
You're so funny.
But the thing is, we're here. The reason we entered into our life on this planet is to face and confront issues and to learn and grow from them, so we don't have to deal with that again.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been working, Stuart, with my dreams and my spiritual path for many years and write them down. And I, over the years, I've also had other experiences that I call soul travel that are not dreamlike, but are just as real and as solid. And it's not solid, I know, but we think it's solid, right? Yeah. And as some people call them, I don't know what do they call them? Anyway, it's just different, man. I'm just somewhere else. And I'm conscious that I'm somewhere else, and I'm conscious...
Lucid dreaming.
Maybe lucid. And I'm conscious that my body is in the bed, and I'm conscious that I'm somewhere else. And I remember one time I wanted to know where I was, right? And so I saw some mail on the table of this person's house I was at. So I wanted to look at the return address to see where I was, or see where this person lived. And I looked at it, and I tell you what, the city and the country, I just didn't know where it was. It was just something that I never had seen before.
So you know what that could be? You might have gone into an alternate or parallel universe where you exist.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And so you were just conscious of that. And that is very common also in the dream state, although that I don't consider an actual dream. I consider that, an interdimensional experience.
Yeah. We do have bodies on other planes, right? We have astral bodies,
Yes, but the thing is, I think what you experienced there was actually an alternate reality of yourself, where you existed in another universe, physical universe, and you were remembering or connecting to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all part of your oversoul experience.
Oversoul. What's your definition of oversoul?
Okay.
Is that like an overcoat?
Well, yeah, almost kind of like that. Think of it more like an umbrella, and from this big umbrella, all these life streams descend, or soul personalities descend, and where they intersect with a physical or non-physical reality, you have a lifetime. So so the whole thing is your oversoul, and it's the master intelligence or the super intelligence of all of the soul personalities in your oversoul combined. And the oversoul then is connected to the God mind. So it's all one big entity, if you will.
No wonder we're having so much fun here.
Well, yeah, some of us are, some not.
Here's another email. This one is from Dr. Steve. Please ask Stewart if there's any validity to the information circulating which states there is a systemic desensitization programming in progress from the powers that be to prepare the populace to accept the fact that ETs are here. Further, that this is being done through increased published reports and utilization of other media formats. If so, when will the presence of this extraterrestrials be confirmed worldwide? If he has a connection to them, will he ask them for the time frame? Are they directing the programming? Wow.
Very good question, Dr. Steve. And I was kind of hoping to be Dr. Phil, but we'll take Dr. Steve. Okay, yes, there is a desensitization, if you will, but I don't call it that. I call it an imprinting. And in my work, I have talked about the staged alien invasion, which the Illuminati are in the process of beginning, so to speak, onto the public where, okay, we need a new common enemy to unite the planet under one world government. And what better way to do that than to have a threat from outer space, an alien threat? And so we all need to join together, forget all our differences, forget the religious and political stuff that's going on. We need one government to control everything, to fight all of this alien invader. So that's what we are in the process of being imprinted with UFOs now being treated actually without laughter on the conventional media. We're having, the European Space Agency's announced the discovery of 50 extrasolar planets out there which are super Earths, and we are getting information about how NASA said last year there are at least 400 million Earth-like planets in our galaxy alone. And there are, hundreds of billions of galaxies, so how much life is out there? So they're letting you know that life exists. But now, what are we seeing? Comets flying by the Earth, meteors, threats from outer space, Comet Elenin coming in, what's going to happen, all these things. So they're making you afraid also of what's out there. And then my opinion is, by the London 2012 Olympics next year, that is when they will use that as a platform to announce that, our planet's being attacked by alien beings. And so it's not that far away.
You mean this idea of terrorism isn't enough for them? They want more, another boogeyman?
Well, look, the 10th anniversary of 9/11 came and went. No terrorist attack. But first they scared you to think there would be, but then there wasn't. And then they mysteriously killed Osama bin Laden, who's been dead for umpteen years anyway. And they got rid of Saddam Hussein. But which one? Which of the 10 Saddam Husseins did they actually eliminate? So one by one, now Gaddafi's going. So one by one, they're knocking off all of the threats. So pretty soon...
Gonna need a new guy.
Yeah, we need somebody new.
Yeah.
But we've exhausted everyone here, so we need to go outside our planet and get a staged alien invasion.
Yeah. Well, I believe that all politics is theater, but it's interesting to watch it sometimes. I think you can learn a lot of what they're planning, right? And I watched a tape of, since I don't have TV like you, but I watched a tape of some of the debate, and this fellow Santorum, is it Santorum, or is he still in there? Anyway, he was saying that, of course, we were attacked on 9/11 because these people just hate us. And gosh, they hate us. And so, I mean, this is the way they are. So this is a land, this is eternal war. We're just going to have to deal with this forever. And then Ron Paul said, no, they didn't attack us because they just hate us. They attacked us because the United States is in 160 countries and we're meddling in their affairs. And he actually was booed by the Tea Party with that. So isn't that interesting?
Well,
isn't that
mind
interesting?
Control.
Yeah.
That's mind control right there, because instead of being open-minded and hearing other possibilities, the reaction is to eliminate the messenger.
Yeah.
See, that's the mind control at work.
And so, do we have to protect ourselves or be careful just working on our computers that we're getting stuff, subliminal stuff, Stewart Swerdlow?
Any item that you use that's electromagnetic, whether it's your computer, television, your air conditioning, your cell phone, whatever uses electricity and electromagnetic, you need to protect from that, because it's used as a carrier wave device.
So, man, so you think solar is a protective device, solar power off the grid?
Well, you're never going to be really off the grid on this planet because, like I say, you're bombarded from satellites. Doesn't matter where you are. Mm-hmm. And if you have anything that uses electricity, whether it's solar or otherwise, it can be tapped into.
Do you know, I have a tin roof, and I put a big grounding plate outside and grounded my roof. And I'm in a little Faraday cage here, so I think it helps because you can't get cell phone reception in the house.
Interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Good for you. Yeah, good for you. Another thing that blocks ELF is granite.
Granite? I'll be done.
And sea salt.
Sea salt.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think grounding does too, if you get yourself grounded.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about that, to be careful,
mm-hmm.
because I know there are people out there, and I've heard this over the years, where they take the metal frames of their beds, and they ground them like that also outside with electrical cord or metal wire. And that can be dangerous in a thunderstorm or electrical storm. So please don't do that, people.
Yeah, you'd have to have a disconnect. You'd want to have a disconnect.
Yeah, but you don't want to take that chance.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously, there are people that live around the world. I mean, other places than the world. You actually had contact with some people other than worldly people, right?
Yes, I have.
And how old were you?
Well, I started at Montauk Project when I was 13, but I've had experiences before that.
And tell us, these people talk to you, and what did they look like?
Well, there was a whole bunch of different ones. It was all mental communication. They didn't use words. It was all psychically communicated, which is how many advanced civilizations do communicate. But as you mentioned, actually, in the very beginning, I subsequently found out that at least a portion of that was government stuff, not alien at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that the government uses alien technology in order to perform these experiments on the population and masquerade as aliens as a cover. And so that's also a portion. I'm not saying every one of them is, but a good chunk of it is. So yeah, I've met, through the Montauk Project especially, I've had interactions with the reptilians, with being from Sirius A, Tau Ceti, the so-called little grays, Regilians. There's been quite a few, and I wrote about that actually in my Montauk Alien Connection book.
You were right in the same room with them.
Yes, I was.
How did somebody brought them into you?
Well, they were in the part of the experiment. Part of that facility, as they are in many other facilities around the world.
So the powers that be, they work with these cats, these people.
Yes, and some of them do look like cats.
So are planets fighting with each other?
Interesting you say that. When I hear these New Age people say, oh, the Space Brothers are coming, and it's going to be peace, light, and love, and all that. I will tell you that the universe is a very dangerous neighborhood. There is war and attacks going on out there constantly. There really is no peace. Many civilizations are at war with each other, both within galaxies and intergalactic and interdimensionally. So it's quite volatile out there.
It's a warring universe, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some people have said that Earth is the ash can of the universe, that this is what... I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if that's true.
You know what they say: location, location, and we exist at the end of one of the spiral arms of the Milky Way galaxy. So it makes us very vulnerable and also very attractive for an invasion force who wants to surround this galaxy. And energetically, because of where we are and because of the types of minerals and water content on this planet, it's very easy to go interdimensionally from here. So that's why we have all of these experiences, these otherworldly experiences on this planet, because of the energy that's here.
Oh, you mean various souls were able to get out of our body easy here?
Well, we're able to go into the astral, into hyperspace, and into other dimensions easily here because of the quality of the elements.
Mm-hmm. Plus, we have some real spiritual teachers around, if you look hard enough, that can help with that too. They're here.
Yes, but they wouldn't be here unless it was conducive to that.
Oh, unless what was conducive?
The ability to do those things.
Right. Yeah, this is from Randall in Oregon. I'm very interested in your guest's opinion regarding whether 9/11 was a trauma-based occult mind control ritual targeting the masses. Wow. Well, that sounded pretty spooky, whatever it is.
Well, I'd like to hear someone say that in once. Well, you did say it in once. Good for you.
I barely said it.
And for you to say a thing like that is quite an accomplishment.
Well, I'm charmed, I'm sure.
Yes, but anyway, yes, it's a perfect statement. It was what I call a global ritual, if you will. There were many, many layers of symbolism connected to it, and I'm sure your listeners have heard all of them many times. But that's what it was about, and it was also about changing our society so that things were never the same after that, and they haven't been.
And how often, so interesting you said that, Stewart, how often has the media and politicians used those very terms?
Well,
things have changed since 9/11. It's a different country. We're under, how often? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah, it's very similar to Pearl Harbor at the beginning of World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Tea Party in Boston and the Revolution. There's always some event that is staged in order to change everything subsequent to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pearl Harbor, as you say, the War of 1812, right? That was
all of these things have an event that really changed everything after.
That's a true Hegelian dialectic idea. I thought about that with the spaceship, right? You create a problem, the ETs, and then we're going to all gather around the mulberry bush and we're going to save the world from ETs.
Well, you got to save yourself first.
Well, what's stopping some real rogue kind of extraterrestrials from just coming down here and just whipping up on the old Illuminati boys? I mean, that can happen too.
Well, interesting that you said that, Patrick, because, on my site and in my lectures, I am talking about what's going on out there in the Kuiper Belt.
Kuiper Belt?
Yeah, the Kuiper Belt, Kuiper.
Kuiper. I never heard that one.
Yeah. It's a field of rocks, asteroids, energies that surrounds our solar system, kind of like a boundary, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And in there are objects. And back in 2004 and 5, I believe, maybe 2006. On CNN, Fox, BBC, every day they were reporting a new object being found, a new planet, a new something or another moving or being seen there, and it became very suspicious. And that's when, as you recall, all of a sudden they said, well, Pluto isn't a planet. After all, it's an object in the Kuiper Belt. So all these objects are simply natural, and even our planet Pluto is part of it and is not even a planet. And if you remember, that went on for a bit of time, and then now we don't even know what Pluto is anymore. And so then you see in the last couple of years the NASA Sun Cam showing these huge objects coming out of our sun and going towards the Kuiper Belt. And when these objects are digitally enhanced, you can see windows, you can see mechanics, you can see that it is an artificial object. It's not a natural thing.
Really?
Yes. And this is going in the Kuiper Belt. And then, I've been talking about it, and nothing, people said, oh, it's crazy. Then all of a sudden, last year, NASA said, guess what? There's an object in the Kuiper Belt that's throwing meteors at us. And then they said the Pioneer spacecraft is stuck between Mars and Jupiter because there's some energy from the Kuiper Belt blocking it. So little by little, they started to reveal this to the public.
Kuiper Belt. Huh?
Yeah. And now it kind of went silent again about that. So that means something's going on.
But is it a fair statement to say that we should be very careful about what NASA says, even though they have such credibility? I hear people say, well, NASA said, but they're part of the boys, aren't they?
Well, of course they are. But, the Illuminati always tell you what they're going to do.
They always tell you what they're going to do, don't they?
And so if you don't pay attention or understand,
right.
They say, well, that's your fault. But they gave themselves a legal out.
Yeah. I've been watching So Interesting the last month. I love listening to the news on the radio because they tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can do investments and make money because they tell you what they're going to do.
If you understand it.
Yeah, and it's just so fascinating. Then when you've changed channels and then you hear the same story told in a different way, but they're saying the same thing, and they all got it from the same place, which is either Reuters or AP, which is, by the way, owned by the Rothschilds,
Right.
In case you didn't know that. You probably do, but in case our audience didn't know that. It's so fascinating. It's just like a movie, man. Just like a strange movie we live in.
Well, that's why I encourage people to do their own research. You don't have to listen to what I say, but do your own research, and you'll find all this out for yourselves.
Don't you think it's fascinating, Stewart, as you look at what's going on in Europe, this whole Hegelian dialectic, it's doing this. They're doing the same thing now, boy. They're really at it in Europe, aren't they? We got to all get together. Oh, we got to become one. Now they're going to do Euro bonds, and they're going to have a party over there, boy.
Well, we're also going to see a split in the EU.
You think so?
There'll be a northern and southern version.
Yeah.
And that will also happen around springtime of 2012.
I think you're right. I think they're going to be splitting up, and yeah. There's going to be
Germany is already printing Deutschmarks again.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
And so they're going to join with the Nordic group, like a little Nazi EU of the North, and they're going to let the southern countries, suffer among their economic issues and straighten themselves out. So that's what we're going to see again around spring of 2012.
Well, the Germans, they went through an inflationary period, 80 years ago, and this idea of just printing a bunch of euros, papering over the problem, is not very exciting to them. Yeah. Okay, here's an email from Michael. Is there any way, this is great, to find out what your reptilian human percentage is?
Well,
I like that.
Yes.
Only our listeners are going to ask that question.
I've heard that many times, and yes, you can. And most people ask me what it is, and I have to do a reading on them. But if you do the DNA work that I have outlined in my DVDs and books, you will learn how to open up your own DNA information and find out for yourselves what you have within you.
And then, my opinion, you can change your DNA.
Well, you can. 97% of it is untapped.
Yeah.
So if you tap into that 97%, wow, you could do a whole bunch of stuff.
Do whatever you want, right? Mm-hmm. This is from Val. So with the aliens being the new terrorist and Mother Nature throwing in the pole shift to Stewart, have any recommendations on what us supposedly sane people do to survive.
Well, I don't really know too many sane people.
I know, we're all a little crazy.
But let me say, I don't see a pole shift. There's no pole shift. That's New Age stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Not going to happen. The magnetic pole wobbles back and forth all the time, so that's not a pole shift. But what we do see happening, and I've written about this a lot, is that there is an ice age coming on. You know, the global warming thing is an absolute diversion from what's really happening.
Boy, I hope we get one in Texas.
Well, you're going to get some cold air pretty soon, actually, the next day or two. So, but you might even get some, rain. So that'll be okay. But by the year 2014, according to Russian scientists, we should be in a full-blown ice age.
Really? Do you suspect that much of the United States will be affected by this?
Well, yeah, of course, the whole planet will be affected by it, but it's not that we're going to be buried under tons of ice right away. That takes decades and centuries to develop.
But generally colder, you think?
It's going to be cold, and it has been for the most part in the last couple of years in the northern part of the country. Hey, look, we're having frost already. It's not even summertime yet. Over, and it's still summer. We're getting frost, and places are getting snowflakes, and it's already beginning in a lot of places, and that has a lot to do with what happened last year in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf Stream is pretty much gone. There's nothing blocking the cold air anymore. We're going to see progressively colder winters from here on in.
Really? Well, I guess Texas will be a good spot then.
Well, I guess that's a matter of opinion.
It's not Michigan and everything like that.
Well,
yeah.
Well, you do have chupacabras, so.
We have who?
Chupacabras. I
don't know those. Who are they?
Where are you living?
I'm in Dripping Springs. We don't know from nothing around here, man.
Something's dripping over there. It isn't good.
Chupacabras. What are chupacabras?
The goat suckers, those crazy animals that they find, that drain the other animals of blood, and they're saying in Texas that it was actually coyotes with mange, and that certainly you've heard those stories.
I have not. No, I have not.
Wow.
But I live out in the country, we just do chickens and stuff like that,
Yeah, well, you didn't hear about they eat chickens too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I eat chickens.
Well, the chupacabra does.
They eat live chickens?
Well, they drain them of blood.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'll have to meet one of those guys.
I don't think you should.
Jack wants to know, what do you make about, I see the number 1111 all the time on digital clocks.
Oh, gosh, everyone's been telling me that.
What is that about?
Yeah, that's a programming trigger. 11 means new programming activation. And so when you see that on a clock or any kind of object, that is triggering you into going into a new programming function.
Oh. Well, 11-11-11 should be a fun day.
Well, they say that every year. Last year was 10-10-10, and before 9-9-9. Every year is going to change. But, yeah, those days can be programming triggers, yes.
Can they? Well, I'm still saving water for Y2K. I don't know about you. I'm just a little behind.
Oh, I think you need to spill it out now.
I think I'm a little behind.
Add that to the dripping springs these days.
Boy, there's not much dripping here, Stuart. I'll tell you what. Man, Let's see. What characteristics, this is from Philip in Oklahoma. He says, how many people do you feel have been subject to programming?
100% of the population.
So we've all got a little bit of wonky going on.
Yeah, some more than others.
What is the agenda behind those running these programs?
Well, as I mentioned...
Stuart, Philip wants to know.
Yeah, global control, complete domination of society and the planet, creating a robot society where everyone performs their function without question, no deviation from the civilization, that kind, just a robot society.
Kind of like going to take an airplane ride.
Well, kind of like that.
You will stand over here. You will. Yeah.
And so what happens when you go through those scanners? Hands up. You got to put your hands up.
Hands up.
Right? Like you're under arrest.
I don't do those scanners, though.
Well, you know what? I have been in situations in particular places where it was that or you don't go.
They told you that?
Yes, I was in Amsterdam.
Oh, really?
And they had these machines, and they said, well, we do not do personal search, so if you don't do this, you're not going anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. But then they assured me that their machines were very different than the ones in the U.S. Well, so I just put myself in violet and flushed myself. And,
there you go. That's right. Good for you. Hello, Stewart. Bless you for all your work. Is there any type of meditation? Yeah, so I wanted to get into this before we leave. Meditation or meditations that you do to help develop concentration, compassion, and insight into the true nature of reality or wisdom. If so, could you please explain some of those techniques for us?
Yeah.
Philip in Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, yes, Philip. But all of the hyperspace work that I teach is designed to do just that. Because as you work with the pineal gland and you concentrate there, balancing your T-bar, connecting to oversoul, any of the visualizations that I teach, that is actually expanding and increasing the strength of the pineal gland, which then enables you to tap in more to the non-physical self and bring that energy in.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like exercise. The more exercise you do, the stronger your body gets. The more hyperspace work you do, the stronger your pineal gland will become, and the stronger your energetics will become, and then you will be able to control self and manifest as you see fit.
Yeah, and to self-remembering, to remember that we are soul and we're not all this stuff. Yeah, the pineal gland, talk about it from a physiological or, say, other than physical. Can we have, say, heavy metal or something poison in the pineal gland that affects us, I suppose, on the other than physical dimensions?
Well, that's a good question. And a lot of the toxins, chemicals, and poisons they put in our food and water and medications really make a beeline right to the pineal and start heavy metals there so that it's hard to use it. And that's the whole point of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that can be removed, taking sea salt baths, going for chelation therapy, ionic foot baths, far infrared sauna.
Yeah.
There's many ways you can remove the heavy metals from the body and open up the pineal gland. Using frankincense essential oil is also a way to open up and awaken the pineal gland.
Frankincense. Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's, boy, and if you really get good frankincense, I mean, from a real pure source, it's magic, isn't it?
And it should be organic, of course.
Yeah.
Don't use chemical stuff. But yeah, that, and using the color royal blue, centering at the pineal to give it natural color back, fleshing the body with a violet to filter and protect the energy. All of these things work to help to enhance yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's an email from, I don't know. They don't say. If the powers that be are the powers that be, why do they have to announce what they're going to do before they do it to make it legal? I mean, why make it legal? Who says it has to be legal? Do they answer to someone else? If they do, who? And if they don't make it legal, what happens to them and who holds them accountable? I don't understand this.
Well, I understand.
You understand the question. Yeah, it's a great question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? It is, believe it or not, they have their own spiritual sense. And for what they're doing, they consider that to be God's work for them.
Yeah.
It's like it's perspective. And so by announcing what they're going to do, they are, in effect, clearing in their minds whatever retribution might be awaiting for them beyond their physical being. And they do worship entities in the lower astral. They invoke demonic entities. That's what they believe in and worship. That's what their religion is about. And yes, they do tell what they're going to do because it gives them their sense of clearing the slate where they're not responsible then. Because we told you what we're going to do. It's not our fault if you didn't see it or understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why they do that. It's their form of spiritual understanding.
So it kind of helps them to live with themselves, so to speak.
You might say that. You could say that.
Yeah. And there's other people that argue that, well, if people ever caught them and brought them up before a world court, that they could be found guilty because they said, well, it was right there. This is no trick. You guys just didn't figure it out.
Well, that's also
That's
true.
possible, I guess.
Just like when people have an estate to settle and they put a
Sure.
little blurb in the newspaper and then they take the estate. Well, if you didn't see it and claim it, not their fault, right?
Yeah, Stewart, we've done some interesting work with a man by the name of Ed Rivera, who's an attorney and been studying the 4 organic laws, the Declaration of Independence and the Northwest Ordinance and the Constitution and the Articles of Confederation. And he can show you, if you choose to learn such, that everything is right there in their own written laws that proves that the powers that the United States government, get this, has absolutely no jurisdiction over anyone in this country. And you can prove it to yourself if you do the research. And it's pretty fascinating that it's right there in their organic laws, which is listed in the U.S. Code. That's
correct.
It's
That's
pretty
right.
wild, It's
there's a whole bunch of people teaching others to be a sovereign, taking back their independence, and there's a whole procedure on how to go about doing that.
Yeah. It's
and
just,
did you know your birth certificate, when you're born, is actually traded on the stock market?
I know that, yeah. And you know that they actually stamp it on the other side when they do that, and then that's why they take the last name of the mom and the last name of the dad, and they use those last names, so they declare that you're an illegitimate person, and then that's why they own you.
Yes.
And that's why if you slap your kid around, Child Protective Services can say that you're a ward of the state because they own the baby.
That's correct.
Absolutely
correct.
Isn't that wild?
Well, very soon on my website, we're going to have a listing from a lady named Betsy Malone, who is working on teaching people how to be a sovereign, and that will become available on my website in the near future.
Oh, cool. And I would check out edrivera.com, too. This man is really fun. edrivera.com and as it turns out, George Washington was in on the deal, and he tricked people into believing that this Constitution actually the government had control on them and could charge them taxes when they really couldn't unless they lived in Washington, D.C. But it's all been a big smoke and mirrors.
Really, the states are independent nations
Yes,
that have a right to print their own money and have their own armies.
Yep, there you go. It's fun, isn't it? We're catching on, Stewart.
Well, yeah, but we got to do something about it.
Yeah. So, what is your goals before you leave this lifetime? What kind of things do you wanna still do?
Am I leaving?
No, I mean someday you might. I mean 100 years from now, if you choose.
You're scaring me there, Patrick.
No, I mean if you choose to,
Well, what my goal is, why I do this work and put myself out on the chopping block all the time, is in the hopes of making people wake up, realize who and what they are, take their power back, change all of this madness on this world, and believe it or not, we still have the opportunity to change everything into a paradise on this planet and make everything wonderful for everybody. Because there is abundance for everybody if we will allow it to come into our lives and remove the oppressors and tyrants.
Are you speaking about changing the powers that be, or changing yourself?
Changing yourself, because as I was going to say, it comes from in the individual and species mind pattern of victimization that then attracts oppressors and tyrants. So if each one of us, individually and then collectively, removes that victimization mentality, we will not attract all of this negativity that we experience.
Why does victimization attract negativity to us?
Because associated with victimization is low self-worth, self-punishment, self-sabotage, self-abuse, all of these mind patterns that then create harmful and hurtful experiences for the individual. And once we realize that we are more than that we are part of the God mind, and there's no need or reason to abuse or sabotage or punish, then we remove the insanity in which we came to this world, and we change it for something a lot more positive.
So then we really become evolved and self-actualized as spiritual beings, and that's where the power is.
Exactly correct. We got to project that movie out, and it has to be a good movie. And
then the more the people that do that, it must multiply in some kind of geometric kind of thing?
My feeling is because we're up against technology that really bombards us, humanity, it has to be over 51%, over half of the population needs to remove this victimization, and then the tide can turn as a critical mass onto the others. But we've got a long way to go.
So do you think that that's part of our job as spiritual beings here in this era, to try to pull that off? Do you think that's part of our karma dharma?
Well, I think that's why we came here at this time. It's a very unique set of circumstances on the earth now that'll never happen again, and that's why so many souls are here, because this is an amazing experience to be part of. Yeah, it feels like it. I mean, it gets a little strange sometimes, but it's still fun, though, isn't it? Well, again, fun is subjective. But let's just say it's interesting. Yeah. What about the little ones coming in now, the 5 and 10-year-olds? What do you suppose their reason to come in at this time? The same, and they must have some stuff under the belt that perhaps we even don't. Well, of course, everyone is here for a reason, and I think that any child, any soul personality that comes in now has to be very strong, with a good mind pattern, and has to be the next phase after this part is done. It must be their role to then recreate society in a new way and have a new world, a better world. That's what I see it as. Yeah, so are you saying that they're coming in with some tools in their tool chest that perhaps you and I didn't have? Yeah, I think so. That we've maybe learned, but we didn't come in with. Correct. I think that these are soul personalities who really, not all of them, but many of them, who have a purpose very specifically as a role to change things in the future. Do you think they learn that in between incarnations, or maybe, I guess it could be on other incarnations and other planets too? Yeah, it's the totality of their experiences everywhere. Yeah. Do you remember some of your past incarnations? I do remember some of them, yes. Were you like Elvis Presley or something? Who told you? Well, I'm very intuitive, except that I was a lot older when he passed away, so unless he jumped into my body, I don't know. Oh, man. Well, if I ever run into one of those E.T. guys, I want to do like the one that was in the movie, because they were cute and cuddly and phoned home and stuff. That's the one. That's the one I want to meet. Okay, you need to take more of your brain stuff, okay? Really? Just keep taking more of the brain stuff? I think so. The microalgae and... Because I talk to him, I really do, and I say, well, come on. I mean, if you guys want to talk to me, I'll put you on the radio. Just come on down, man, and just let's have a party here. Well, we need something. Well, Stewart, you're a pleasure to talk to. Thanks so much. So you're going to have a little Frost on the Pumpkin in St. Joseph, Michigan. That's crazy. It's only September 15th, I know. Well, it's not unusual. Yeah. Well, I hope with this global cooling, we're going to have a little global water. Well, I hope that's part of it. I'll send some down to you. I think there's about 400 gallons in the rainwater collection tank, and after that, it's, well, I don't know. Don't drink rainwater. Why? Oh, it's toxic. Oh, I clean it up. Yeah, it has radiation from Japan in it. Well, yeah, but I just tell my body that radiation is good for you, so I change it around. I do the loaves and fishes things with that one. Ah, and that's why you glow in the dark. That's what I do. Stewart Swerdlow, always a pleasure, sir. Our best to your wife and your family. Expansions.com. Keep expanding, Stewart. Thank you. I don't want you going the other way now. Oh, I would not. I know you. Thanks, Stewart.